For the past 8 months now, I've been gathering an arsenal worthy of taking on the Chambers of Xeric on my UIM. Not for a little bit, not for a few purples, but for the long haul. And in the last video, I got the last 3 pieces of gear on my account that I needed: the full fortified Missouri set, the primordial boots, and the Avernic Defender. It's just about time for me to start what will easily become the longest grind I have ever done in RuneScape, but before I get to that, there's just a few skilling related things that I want to knock out. Some of these things are things that will help in the raid itself, and others are things that I've been putting off for a while, and right before the Chambers grind seems like a good time to do that. First on the list is a pretty big one. I want to get the Achievement Diary Cape. I've actually already had most of the requirements done on this account for a long time, but never got around to pulling the trigger on it. And during the event of the last video, I spent some time finishing up the requirements off screen. I have 7 elite diaries to complete, so let's get started. I think I'm just going to knock these out in alphabetical order because, why not? So that puts Falador first, which actually happens to have one of the most tedious tasks in it, which is nice because I can just get it out of the way early. One of the tasks in the Falador Elite Diary is to buy a white 2H sword from Sir Viven, and to unlock that you have to achieve the Master rank among the White Knights, which requires a Black Knight KC of 1300. You always start with 100 kills, so let's get to work killing 1200 Black Knights. This is actually going to be a pretty good use for my new rapier, since it's basically the best weapon in the game for melee against low defense enemies. You'd normally use a cannon for this task, but getting a lot of cannonballs isn't exactly feasible on an Iron Man, much less a UIM, so melee it is. And there we go, kill number 1200. Honestly way faster than I thought this would take, based on what I heard about this one. That took about like 2.5 hours, and I am now a White Knight Master. And there's the white 2H sword for about 2k. Now it's time to blow through the rest of these. Crafting at least 252 air runes simultaneously, done, and making a Sarah brew in Valley East Bank is done. The Falador Elite Diary has a couple nice rewards. First off, the Valley Shield now has 2 charges of full prayer restore per day instead of 1. It also makes the Valley Tree Patch a disease-free one, gives me better ores from Motherlode Mine, and unlocks the exclusive Amethyst room in the Mining Guild. I also get a 50k XP lamp like I will for each of these, which I'll be putting all of them into prayer. Next up is the Fremenic Diary, which will be a bit more challenging. The first thing I gotta do is kill all 3 Dagannoth Kings. This is actually gonna be the first time I've killed Dagannoth Prime or Supreme on this account, but I do have quite a few kills on Rex. 703 kills, and that was literally just to get 1 Berserker ring, believe it or not. That put me just a few ranks away from the front page on the high scores at the time, so yeah, I don't get spooned on everything on this account. And there we go, all 3 DKs killed. Maybe sometime in the future, I'll eventually come back to do some real grinding here, especially with the new rings from Desert Treasure 2 being in the game, since you have to get the DK rings to make them. Similarly to that last task, I also have to kill all 4 bosses in the God Wars dungeon for this one. Now, I've already killed Krill and Kriara, and unlike a lot of other diary tasks in the game, those actually still count permanently even if you do other diary tasks in the meantime, so I really only have to kill the other 2. There's Commander Ziliana, and there's General Gardor. The rest of these should be pretty quick now. Oh, and Org Freezer, that's for killing him while he's frozen. Crafting at least 56 Astral Runes simultaneously done, and crafting a Dragonstone Amulet in the Native's Not Furnace done. For the Fremenic Elite Diary, the biggest reward is probably that I don't need a Seal of Passage to do things on the Lunar Isle anymore, which is nice for if I need to buy Astral Runes or something. I also get infinite teleports to Relica from the boots, which doesn't mean much since I already have that from the Construction Cape. It also makes the bones you get from DKs noted, which is nice. It also lets you teleport to Yatizo and Nada's Knot with the Enchanted Lyre, which I'll probably never actually do. And it also improves your Miscellanea Kingdom approval rate, which is definitely useless to me since UIMs can't even do that content. It's basically the only piece of content in the game that hard requires a bank. Next up is the Kandarin Diary. Fishing and cooking 5 sharks with the cooking gauntlets done. Making a pyre ship with chewed bones and magic logs done. Making a stamina mix on the top of the Seer's Bank done. And finally casting Catherby Teleport done. For the Kandarin Elite Diary, I get unlimited teleports to Sherlock with the Helm, which will actually make Elite and Master Clues a bit nicer. I also get cheaper Mystic Staff and Zamihasta conversions, which is kind of useless for me. There's also something with being able to bank the coal from the coal trucks, which you'd think would be completely useless to me as a UIM, but actually, it's completely useless to everyone because it's the coal trucks. I can also trade more flax for more bowstrings daily, and finally, the only really important reward, the Catherby Herb Patch will now give me more herbs when I harvest it. Next up is the Mauritania Diary. Catching a shark barehanded, done. Casting Fertile Soil on the Mauritania Herb Patch, done. Making a Black D'hide body in the Canifist Bank, done. And killing an Abbey Demon in the Slayer Tower is done. For this one, I get unlimited teleports to the Ectofuntus Slime Pit, not really too useful there. I do get more free bone meal per day, which I have used before, but it's a bit niche. I also get more fire making XP from Burning Shades, Slayer XP in the Slayer Tower, and Prayer XP from the Bone Crusher. And just like the Kandarin Diary, there's one really useful reward here, which is that it unlocks a new herb patch on Harmony Island, so now I can go through my herb seeds faster. And onto the Varrock Diary. Making a Super Combat in Varrock West Bank, done. Crafting 100 Earth Runes, done. Smithing and fletching 10 Rune Darts in Varrock, done. Making a Summer Pie in the Cook's Guild, done. And casting Plank Make on 20 Mahogany Logs in the Lumberyard, done. The Varrock Diary does give me a couple good rewards. The plate body now applies its mining bonus to Amethyst and also acts as the piece of the Prospector kit, both of which will be very useful for when I'm mining Amethyst. I also get faster bars smelted at the Edgeville Furnace, more discounted battle staves I can buy per day, and more Skull Scepter charges, all of which are pretty useless. And now it's time for the Western Provinces Diary. For this one, I just need to fletch a magic longbow in Taranwin, and now I gotta do the other really long grindy one, which is killing 1,000 chompy birds. And there we go, 2.5 hours later. That was an experience, I guess. The big reward here is that it unlocks an easily obtainable pet, the Chompy Chick, which I'll probably go for at some point. It also speeds up the process of chompy hunting, which will help with that. I also get unlimited Piscatorus teleports, which isn't too useful because there's a fairy ring there. I also get more Ogre arrows per day, more Slayer points from Steve, and 1 free resurrection at Zulrah, which may come in handy if I ever go back to Zulrah on this account. And also this prayer lamp gets me to 90. And now we come to what will probably be the most involved diary, the wilderness one. First off is a few tasks in the Wildy resource area that I'm going to do all at once to minimize my time in there. Making a rune scimitar from scratch, done. Fishing and cooking a dark crab, done. And cutting and burning magic logs is done. Next up is the reason why this diary used to be really bad on a UIM, but now it's only slightly bad. I have to kill all 3 wilderness bosses once, but now the weaker singles versions count. There's Artio, done. There's Spindle. And finally Calvarion. The rest of these should be pretty free now. Casting Gorok Teleport, done. And finally, killing a spiritual mage in the Wildy God Wars dungeon is done. Didn't die once for any of these tasks, which is great. And there's the last diary completed. I get unlimited teleports to the Fountain of Rune from the sword, free entry to the Wildy resource area, more free runes from the Mage Arena guy, a better Dark Crab catch rate, and the one big unlock here is that Dragon Bones from Dragons in the Wilderness now drop as noted, which unlocks one of the best prayer training methods in the game for UIMs. And now, since I've completed all the diaries, I can buy my diary cape. This thing has a ridiculous number of teleports on it. You can teleport to any of the diary reward givers as well as a few other notable NPCs related to diary tasks. But really, this was more for the flex than anything. This is really cool to have on a UIM, and it's also the first time I've ever gotten a diary cape on any account at all. Alright, well at this point there's just a few more skill levels I want to get before charging into the chambers. First off is 96 cooking. I'm currently 95, so this shouldn't take too long. There we go, 96 cooking. This unlocks the highest tier of Zulrah skills from Sacred Eels, which is where I'm getting the skills from my Serp Helm and Blowpipe. So now that process should be something like 15 or 20% faster. Next up is 92 mining for Amethyst. I'm going to do at least a big chunk of this in the mining guild by power mining iron actually, since I want to unlock the expert mining gloves. In the last video I got the superior ones, so now I'm about halfway to the point of finishing this grind already. Well, in perfect YouTuber fashion, I didn't have my replay buffer on for this, but hey, that's a duplicate rock golem pet right there. Neat. Alright, many hours later, I have my basic and superior gloves along with 60 extra minerals, and there we go, the expert mining gloves. This gives me a 25% chance that an amethyst vein won't deplete, which will make it a lot more AFK to mine amethyst. But to do that, I still need to get to 92 mining, so I guess I'll probably just knock out the rest of that with some AFK shooting star mining. And there it is, 92 mining. I've done something like 30 hours of mining in this video to get the gloves and this level. I can now mine amethyst, which is going to be my main source of darts for my blowpipe going forward once I run out of dragon darts. And not only that, I'll be able to stack up all the bonuses for my prospector kit, my Varrock plate body 4, and my new expert mining gloves. So I get more XP, there's a chance for double amethyst, and there's a chance for the rock to not deplete. There's just one more skilling grind I want to do before starting the chambers grind, and unfortunately, it's going to be a big one. I want to get 93 agility. I'm currently at 87 agility, so we're gonna be talking like 50 hours of rooftop agility here. Now, I thought about doing this at Hollowed Sepulchre, and that would be more XP per hour, but there's one big problem, which is that you can't get amylase from there. I'm gonna need a lot of amylase for stamina potions for the Chambers grind and beyond, so I do need to do this grind on the rooftops, even though it'll be slower. Hi, it's Xeric from the future here. Guess what they just announced after I decided to do 50 hours of rooftop agility because of the amylase crystals? That's right, a significantly faster way of getting amylase crystals. So I guess it's time to start running in circles. There's 90 agility, which actually unlocks a pretty nice upgrade since I can use the Arty course now, which is the best rooftop course in the game for XP and for Marks of Grace. It's going to be nice to get a change of scenery. I looked back at my Temple OSRS stats, and it looks like I first unlocked the Relica course about a year and a half ago. And finally, 93 agility. I'm gonna say the cliche thing. I know that wasn't a long time for you, but it was a very long time for me. I have been doing agility for the last 50 hours of in-game time. The big unlock here is the best agility shortcut for the True Blood altar. Making blood runes is my best consistent moneymaker right now that doesn't require a Slayer task, but so far I've only been able to use the Zaya altar. I could have used the True altar as soon as I unlocked blood runes, but without this shortcut, it's a lot less efficient. So now, with all the pure essence I'm gonna get from the Chambers of Xeric, I can start making a ton of money very fast. In fact, this is actually my fastest way of getting soul runes too without going negative on the cash stack. It's literally faster to craft blood runes, sell them, and then use that money to buy soul runes than it is to craft soul runes for free because the Zaya soul altar is that bad. And because I did this all at the rooftops, I also got 1,060 Marks of Grace, which is enough to turn 3,500 Abentos worth of super energy potions into stamina potions. That's going to be a lot of extra Herblore XP and also very useful for the Chambers grind itself, since I go through a lot of stamina doses in the solo Ohm fight. I think I'm ready. I've done basically everything I wanted to do before starting the Chambers grind, so let's head on over to Mount Keta Mortem. The Chambers of Xeric, my new home for a long time. I'm here for two items. The first is the Ancestral Legs, which will complete the Ancestral Robe set for me, which is the best magic armor set in the game. And just like the Masori set, it's storable in the POH. I already have the hat in the top, but the hat is locked in the POH until I complete the set. So if I get the legs, it'll basically unlock the hat for me and free up 2 bag slots permanently. The second item I'm going for is this raid's super weapon, the Twisted Bow. This thing is the best ranged weapon in the game by a mile and directly competes with the Shadow for the best weapon in the game entirely. In fact, this thing is going to make my Bow of Ferdinand obsolete, so I'll be able to drop my crystal armor permanently, which is taking up 2 slots in the inventory anytime I wasn't deathbanked. Now, most people, when they do the Chambers of Xeric, treat the T-Bow as one of those things that would be really cool if it happened, but just is not realistic to expect, but I'm going to be actively pursuing it. I won't consider myself to be done with the Chambers of Xeric until I have a Twisted Bow in my inventory. It's that important to the future of my account. Let's talk about the drop rates for these things. First of all, the rate of getting uniques is not going to be static like it is at the Tombs of the Masket or the Theater of Blood, and that's because the bosses I fight are not predetermined. The Chambers of Xeric runs on a point system, and the more damage I deal to bosses, the more points I get. I'm gonna assume an average of 30,000 points per raid, and this gives me a roughly 1 in 29 chance of receiving a purple per raid. And that rate won't go up substantially unless I start running challenge mode raids, which I'm not sure if I want to do that yet on my account. When I do roll that 1 in 29 to see a purple light, the reward will be one of 12 possible uniques. The most common are the prayer scrolls at a unique rate of about 1 in 3.5. These are basically the equivalent to the Lightbearer and Fang from TOA. One is very cheap, the other is very expensive, and both of them are entirely useless to me because I already have them. They unlock the best ranged and magic prayers in the game, Rigor and Augury. Next up, at a unique rate of about 1 in 17 is the Twisted Buckler, the best ranged offhand in the game. Not exactly the most useful, since almost all good ranged weapons are two-handed. Also at 1 in 17 is the Dragon Hunter Crossbow, which I already have, which has extra accuracy and damage versus dragons, similarly to the Lance. Next, at a rate of 1 in 23 is the Din's Bulwark, a two-handed shield and the single best defensive item in the game. Also at 1 in 23 is each of the ancestral pieces, which I just need the legs to complete the set. The last 1 in 23 is the Dragon Claws, one of the best special attack weapons in the game. And now we get to the 3 mega rares of this raid, all at a rate of 1 in 34.5, the Elder Maul, the Kodai Insignia, and the Twisted Bow. The Elder Maul is one of the best crush weapons in the game, but it is extremely slow to the extent where it's not useful in a lot of places. I've actually gotten this one before, and despite its rarity, I ended up dropping it. The Kodai can be attached to a Master Wand to make the Kodai Wand the best weapon in the game for using ancient spells like Ice Barrage or Blood Barrage, and finally the jackpot item, the Twisted Bow. This raid also has really good supply drops outside of its uniques, but the big highlight is the herb drops. Grinding the Chambers of Xeric is a very good source of bagged herblore XP. In fact, if I go on rate for a Twisted Bow, not counting the raids I've already done, I should have enough bagged herbs to just go and get 99 herblore immediately. I'm starting this grind with 372 completed raids. The effective average number of raids to get a Twisted Bow is 1 in 1,000. So let's get started. And that's the first raid of the grind. Actually got a Deathless Olm there, which is great. I thought I was going to have to do a few raids with the new gear loadout before I could beat him without dying, but it looks like I'm pretty much good to go. Oh, fun fact, you actually can build the storage unit on a UIM, even though you can't use it. And it does give points, which is pretty neat. Alright, my first fully deathless raid of the grind. This is going great. It seems like my success at Ulm is extremely dependent on how quickly I can get into the 4-to-1 cycle. If I get unlucky with a phase-specific attack, or if I mess up the timing of something, that can be an entire brew down the drain. This is my loadout, by the way. It is pretty similar to what I was using the last time I was here, which was almost a year ago. But the biggest difference is that I'm no longer bringing the Bofa and Crystal Armor. I ran the DPS calcs on the bosses that I use ranged against, and found out that as long as I'm using Rune Darts or better, I do just about as much DPS with the Blowpipe and Masori, or even more in some cases. Which is nice, since I won't have to worry about charges on the Crystal Armor. Speaking of, you may have noticed that my Crystal Armor is not in my inventory, along with some of my other untradables. That's because, unlike the other raids, the Chambers of Xeric is a safe activity, which means I can use a death bank. I do have a looting bag, but that's mainly just to hold the raid rewards I get. Everything else is in the death bank right now. I'm kind of skipping over most of the rooms in the raid right now with these clips, but I do want to show them off probably in the next video, but for this one, I want to show off the main event of the raid, the final boss, the Great Ulm. Ulm is one of the most mechanically dense boss fights in the entire game, and fighting him solo is one of the harder PvM activities that you can do, especially on a UIM. I've been practicing this fight a lot on my main in preparation for this, mainly so I don't waste a ton of supplies learning it on the UIM. Here's how the fight works. Ulm has 2 hands and a head. For most of the fight, you're taking out his right hand with magic and his left hand with melee, and then after doing that for a few phases, you finally take out his head with ranged. While you're still fighting the mage and melee hands, the head is going to be attacking you with a bunch of different types of attacks, but over the years, people have figured out some good ways to manipulate the boss to minimize the damage you take, which is the real reason why this boss is even viable to kill solo. When the boss is about to do an attack, it can target that attack on the left side of the room, the right side of the room, or the middle, and that depends on where the players are in the room. So take this example here where I'm killing the mage hand with my shadow. I start here on the far right, which makes Ulm turn his head towards the right side of the room. Then when I attack, I run across the center line, which makes him look to the left. And then while I'm walking back to where I started, he looks towards the middle. So as long as I keep up this pattern perfectly, the boss won't be able to attack me at all, since every time he's ready to attack, I'm already in a different part of the room from where he's targeting. The melee side of things is much more complicated, since it's a lot harder to be in the right spot at the right time when you also have to be within melee range of the hand as much as possible. The most common way of doing this is what's called the 4-to-1 method, which means that for every cycle of the pattern, I do 4 attacks to the hand and Ulm gets 1 opportunity to actually hit me. It's a lot more precise and a lot more complicated than what I'm doing for the mage hand, and this 4-to-1 melee method is what I've been trying to learn on the main. It's hard. It's one of the most difficult things to learn in this game, but it feels really good once you get it down. As I keep doing this raid, I'm going to get more and more familiar with this method, and I'll be able to start adding in extra optimizations to make it even better. Things like being able to dodge certain types of attacks that I normally would have to just tank, which could really throw me off the 4-to-1 pattern. But for now, this is going to be the main thing I'm working on.
My inventory is an absolute mess. My favorite part of these diaries. My inventory looks like I'm committing crimes.
My inventory always looks like I'm committing crimes.
Yeah, but you got cool stuff in there too.
True.
Hey, I'm questing. No, not questing. I'm diaring. I gotta be careful. Diaring.
I'm diarrhea-ing right now.
It's a paramja. Sometimes you drink some water and you just shit.
You got diarrhea. I'm squirking like.
Sorry.
There's some fucking endemic illness going on right now.
This sucks. This whole conversation sucks.
Dark Altar? Like, it's kind of POC-esque.
I mean, I'm sure I can just look up, like,
RuneScape. I'm gonna look up the map and see it. Yeah, I'm seeing if I can find it.
Don't look up RuneScape penis.
No, I'm looking it up.
This is a decent POC. I have one, so
that doesn't mean you know what one looks like.
In the River of Souls area, like the purple bit, that's where the P is.
This is where I've been spending hundreds of hours right now. I fucking hate this.
If I don't, then the scuff factor goes up, so just the stuff factor is going to proportion, you know?
Oh, okay, yeah, it's like multiplicative. The more scuff, the more stuff.
Yeah.
That has not worked for me.
That is exactly the law of the universe, and it never fails.
If that's true, I deserve a purple right now.
Exactly.
Hell
Oh my god, I got a purple!
Oh no.
Hold on.
It never fails.
On number 400 too. Okay. Alright,
Yeah.
I'm looking for Tebow or Ancestral Pants.
Tebow.
Dex!
Tebow!
That's not a Tebow. Alright, that was pretty awesome. Got my first purple on the new grind. There is one thing that's becoming an issue though, which is the cost of using my shadow. That said, I have a plan for how I'm going to keep up the grind, and that's with blood rune crafting. But now that I have 93 agility, I can use the best shortcut for the true blood altar. The only issue is that I need to get either a blood talisman or a catalytic talisman first, so I'll need to stop by Guardians of the Rift for a quick mini grind. I'll really be diving into this minigame sometime in the future, probably when I'm eventually grinding out 99 rune crafting on this account, but for now, I'm just here for either the catalytic talisman, which is a 1 in 200 from the rewards guardian, or a blood talisman, which I can buy for 100 abyssal pearls from the shop. Hopefully I can get lucky on the catalytic one. Alright, well, no catalytic talisman, but I got 100 pearls for the blood one. So one thing that's actually nice about having the full rune crafting outfit is that you can store a tiara in the hat. So I can just take this blood tiara, stick it in the hat, and then that's stored forever. So whenever I want to do blood rune crafting in the future, I can just start doing it immediately instead of having to get another talisman. Alright, so with that all taken care of, I am ready to start blood rune crafting. Here's the method, by the way. It's pretty simple. I start at the bank chest here, unnote my pure essence and fill up my inventory and pouch. Then I use my con cape to teleport to the POH and take the fairy ring to DLS, which is underneath Canifis. Then I run down to the shortcut, enter the altar, craft my runes, con cape out, refill my run energy if I need to, and take the jewelry box teleport back to the bank. Each round I do of this gives me a bit over 100 blood runes, which is about 21k cash, and takes about a minute. So if I'm doing this at max efficiency, I should be able to get over 1.2 million GP per hour. It also uses up about 3,900 pure essence per hour, so I can keep this up for a very long time without running out of supplies. I'm gonna do this until I can work up a decent cash stack to dump into shadow charges. Alright, I think that's a good stopping point, 90 runecraft. Let's see how many charges that gets us. Alright, that gets me 8k charges with a bit over 2 mil left over in the cash stack as buffer. Not bad. Should be pretty set for a while. In this video, I really wanted to get a feel for running solo chambers again, and I feel like I accomplished that pretty quickly. In the next video, I'm going to be diving in even further, learning new tech, and pushing my KC higher in search of the ancestral legs and the twisted bow. See you there.